even when you implement these taxes, the so-called informal sector in the country are paying a lot in terms of other indirect taxes, right? So talk of petrol, talk of fuel prices, talk of, general goods and services, VAT, national health insurance, tourism levy. If you go and eat right now, and let's say you spend 200 cedis, right, to buy a plate of food, on that 200, you would have actually paid VAT, NHIL, tourism levy, you name it. Cumulatively, you're talking between 17 and 20%. And then on top of that, you're saying that if I make a transfer now to pay for that service that I have procured, then you're going to take an extra 1.75%, right, on top of that. And this is where I challenge a bit of the premise, because what you actually see is that the people who are making these transfers, to a large extent, are also in the formal sector of the economy. So it's not just a question of roping in the informal sector. In fact, it is the same middle class, the same folks that would end up having to pay for this tax. So in my view, I don't think that the E-levy is the best of decisions at this point in time, especially given the fact that we're talking about financial inclusion and you want to widen access. Nevertheless, if the intent is still pushed through with it, I think 3 or 4 things can be done. And I would articulate this perhaps to the select committee when it gets to that stage. Number one, I think we need to exclude certain services from the payment of this tax. So 3 services there. I think if you do a bank transfer to your Momo wallet and vice versa, I don't think you should be paying a tax on it. Number 2, if you're paying, for example, for essential services, I participated on a platform during the week, and some of these ideas were shared, which I'm articulating. So essential services like water, electricity, medicines, you name it, we should find a way to be able to take them out from paying this tax. And then bank-to-bank transfers as well, I don't think should be covered, but I think that has been articulated or cleared by John Ewa. 2 other points I think that are possible in terms of reform. We should reduce the rate down. I think 1.75% is too high. Possibly a graduated scale, like John said, probably about 0.5% to start off with. And importantly, look at or assess the consumer response to that. So do we see a drop in terms of consumption of these e-services as a result of the impact of these taxes? And then at what point then would you taper off, or do you see that big switch in terms of the elasticity of demand? So the rate, in my view, has to come down, possibly 0.5%. And lastly, I think the limit should also be increased. The 100 cedi limit, I think, could possibly go up to about 175 cedis a day, and that cumulatively is around 5,000 cedis a month. So these are some of my thoughts on it. Left for me alone, I wouldn't implement it, but if government wants to go ahead with it, then perhaps we need to look at which services you exclude, the rate, and then the trigger point.
Okay.